On the edge of the known galaxy, the planet Clithia floated like a small green jewel in the black void. For thousands of years, the Clithian people lived in peace. They built tall crystal cities that glowed under 3 soft moons. Their children played in wide gardens. Their scientists studied stars. They had no big armies. They did not need them. Until now, the Zorath Empire had come like a dark storm. The Zorath were tall, insect-like beings with hard black shells and glowing red eyes. Their ships were ugly and huge, covered in sharp metal spikes and cannons that could burn whole cities in one blast. They wanted Clithia's rich mines of rare crystal. They did not ask. They just attacked. Day after day, Zorath bombs fell from the sky. Tall towers cracked and fell, streets filled with smoke and screams. The Clithian defense ships, small and silver, fought bravely, but one by one they exploded into bright fireballs. The sky turned red with burning wreckage. In the deep underground council chamber, Elder Vera stood before the remaining leaders. She was old, with pale blue skin and wise silver eyes. Her voice shook a little, but she spoke clearly. "We have sent messages to every friend we know. No one answers. Our shields are failing. In 2 days, the Zorath will break through and kill us all." A young scientist named Lear stood up. His hands trembled. "Elder, there is one last thing. The ancient emergency beacon. It was built long ago before we even had space travel. It sends a signal across every channel in the galaxy. Anyone who hears it will know we are in danger." The room went quiet. An old council member frowned. "That beacon is dangerous. It does not choose who hears it. It could call monsters. It could call nothing." Vara looked at the scared faces around her. Outside, another bomb hit. The ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. A child's cry echoed through the halls. "We have no choice," Vara said. "If we do nothing, we die. Activate it." The technicians ran to the control room. They pressed glowing buttons. Old machines hummed to life. A deep, low sound filled the air, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. The beacon sent its message. "Help! This is Clithia. We are under attack by the Zorath Empire. Our people are dying. We need any help you can give. Coordinates are attached. Please, come fast." The signal shot out like lightning. It traveled through empty space, bounced off old relay stations, past dead stars, and kept going. It did not stop. It did not care who listened. Far away on the quiet blue world called Earth, something strange happened. Deep inside a hidden military base under a mountain, red lights flashed. A young communications officer named Maya pulled off her headphones. "Sir, we have an unknown signal on the old deep space channel. It's a distress call." Her commander, Captain Reyes, walked over. He read the message on the screen. His eyes narrowed. "This is not one of our allies. It's from a system we barely know. Clithia, they're being attacked. They're begging for help." Maya looked up. "Should we ignore it? It's not our problem." Reyes stared at the screen for a long moment, then he smiled. A small, dangerous smile. Someone out there pressed the button and called for help. They did not know who would answer, but humans always answer calls for help. He turned to the room. "Alert High Command. Mobilize the 1st, 3rd, and 7th Fleets. Full combat readiness. Tell them we are going to war." Alarms screamed across Earth's shipyards. Massive warships woke up. Engines roared like angry beasts. Crews ran to their stations. Guns powered up with a deep hum. Fighters launched into the sky for practice runs. In less than 1 hour, the human fleet was ready. Back on Clithia, the night was dark and terrible. Zorath ships moved closer. Their commander's voice came over every speaker. "Clithians, your time is over. No one is coming. Surrender now or we will burn your world to ash." Elder Vara stood on the surface looking up at the burning sky. Tears ran down her face. She whispered, "We tried, we called, but no one came." She did not know. Far beyond the stars, bright flashes appeared in empty space, one after another. Human ships warped in, huge, gray, and covered in weapons. Their engines glowed blue and white. Their names were painted in bold letters: Indomitable, Thunderchild, Eternal Wrath. The humans had arrived, and the Clithians had no idea what kind of storm they had just invited. The night sky above Clythia suddenly exploded with light. One moment, only the red glow of Zorath ships filled the darkness. The next moment, bright white-blue flashes tore open space itself. Hundreds of new shapes appeared, long, sharp, and angry-looking. Human ships. They came in perfect formation. The biggest ones were like floating cities made of steel. Smaller attack ships darted around them like hunting birds. Every ship had the same colors, dark gray with thin red and blue lines. Names were painted in huge white letters. Titan's Wrath, Iron Resolve, Silent Judgment. The fleet looked unstoppable. On the ground, Elder Vera stood with her council in the open command tower. They stared up through cracked view screens. No one spoke at first. Then Lear, the young scientist, whispered, That is not possible. So many. So fast. Vara's voice was dry. Who are they? Lear quickly pulled up old star charts on a small tablet. His fingers moved fast. Humans, from the Sol system. We have only old stories about them. They come from a death world, full of poison air, wild animals, and storms that never stop. We thought they were too new to space, too primitive. An old council member laughed nervously. Primitive? Look at those ships. They have more guns than our whole navy ever had. High above, the Zorath commander, Lord Kraz, stood on the bridge of his flagship, Bloodfang. He watched the new arrivals on his screens. At first, he sneered. More insects to crush. Send the forward wing. Burn them. Zorath fighters, small, fast, and spiked, rushed forward in a black cloud. They fired green plasma bolts that lit up the night. But the human fleet did not panic, not even a little. One human voice came over every open channel. It was calm, almost bored. This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Coalition Fleet. You are attacking a civilian world that sent a distress call. Stand down immediately. Last warning. Lord Kraz laughed loud enough for his crew to hear. Stand down? To weaklings? Fire everything. The Zorath ships unleashed a storm of weapons. Lasers, missiles, and plasma waves raced toward the human line. The humans answered. Shields on the human ships glowed bright silver. The enemy fire hit and disappeared, not one ship even shook. Then the humans fired back. Long metal rods shot from the biggest ships at impossible speed. Railguns. They punched clean through Zorath armor. One shot, one kill. A Zorath cruiser broke in half. Fire bloomed like flowers in space. Missiles followed. Not wild shots, these were smart. They curved, chased, and found weak points. Another Zorath battleship exploded. Pieces flew in every direction. Lord Kraz's laughter died. His red eyes grew wide. How are they doing this? On Clythia, the people watched from shelters and broken streets. A little girl pointed up. Look, the stars are fighting back. Elder Vara felt something strange in her chest. Hope, but also fear. These humans were not just saving them. They were destroying the enemy like it was nothing. A human fighter pilot flew past the Zorath line. His call sign flashed on Clethian screens. Reaper 7. He spun his small ship between enemy fire, laughing over the open comm. This is almost too easy. They fight like they never saw real war before. Back on the Bloodfang, alarms screamed. Crew ran in panic. Lord Kraz shouted, Pull back, form a defensive wall. But it was too late. The human fleet moved forward like a single living thing. Every ship fired at the same time. A wall of light and death rolled over the Zorath ships. Explosions lit the sky brighter than Clythia's 3 moons. One Zorath officer whispered to his commander, Sir, we called the wrong people. Lord Kraz gripped his chair. His voice shook for the first time. We did not call them. The Clythians did. And now we pay for their mistake. Down on the planet, Elder Vara turned to Lear. We asked for help, any help. We never thought... Lear finished the sentence. We never thought death would answer so quickly. The battle was not over. But already the Zorath line was breaking. Ships turned to run. Human ships chased them without mercy. The Clythians looked up at the sky full of fire and steel. They were no longer alone. But the ones who came were not gentle saviors. They were humans. And the galaxy would soon learn why calling them by mistake was the biggest error any species could make. The battle turned into a nightmare for the Zorath. Their once proud fleet, feared across 50 systems, now looked small and slow. The human ships moved like wolves among sheep. Every action was sharp, fast, and final. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of the flagship Titan's Wrath. He was a short man with gray hair and eyes like cold steel. He gave orders in a quiet voice, no shouting, no panic, just calm words that everyone obeyed instantly.
Focus fire on their command ships, cut the head off first, then mop up the rest.
The human railgun spoke again. Long streaks of metal flew faster than sound. They hit Zorath dreadnoughts dead center. Armor plates peeled away like wet paper. Inside, crews screamed as fire raced through hallways. One dreadnought split open like a cracked egg. Its reactor went critical. A silent white flower of light bloomed in space. On Clithia, people climbed to rooftops and broken towers to watch. They did not cheer yet. They just stared with open mouths. A young boy held his mother's hand and asked, "Are they gods?" His mother shook her head slowly. "No, they are something worse. They are angry." High above, a squadron of human fighters, sleek black arrows called Hellcats, dived into the Zorath fighter cloud. Their pilots flew so close that enemy lasers missed by inches. One pilot, call sign Viper 3, rolled his ship upside down, fired 2 quick shots, and destroyed 3 Zorath fighters in a single heartbeat. "Woo, that's 3 for me," Viper 3 laughed over the comms. "Who's keeping score?" Another pilot answered, "You're behind." The Zorath pilots tried to fight back. They were brave. They looped and twisted. They fired plasma wildly. But human pilots read their moves before they even made them. Human sensors saw everything. Human computers predicted everything. Human hands moved like lightning. A Zorath fighter got lucky. It scored a direct hit on a Hellcat's wing. The human ship spun out of control, trailing smoke and sparks. The pilot's voice came over the open channel, calm, almost cheerful. "This is Hawk 9. Wings gone, ejecting." A small pod shot out from the damaged fighter. It tumbled away from the battle. Seconds later, the Hellcat exploded in a bright flash. But the pod kept falling toward Clithia's atmosphere. On the ground, Clithian rescue teams saw the glowing pod on their scanners. Elder Vera ordered, "Find that pilot. Bring him here. Now." Back in space, the loss of one fighter did not slow the humans. If anything, it made them sharper. Admiral Chen spoke again. "Launch the second wave. Show them what happens when you hurt one of ours." Heavy bombers, big ugly ships nicknamed anvils, moved forward. They opened their bellies. Dozens of missiles dropped out. Each missile had its own tiny brain. They spread out like a school of fish, then turned and hunted. Zorath point defense guns tried to shoot them down. Most missed. The missiles found weak spots and burrowed inside. Seconds later, more Zorath ships burst apart. Lord Kraz stood frozen on his bridge. His claws dug into the armrests until they cracked. His officers looked at him with wide, scared eyes. "Sir, we are losing half our strength in minutes. We must retreat," Kraz snarled. "Retreat never. Send the suicide ram, target their flagship. If we die, we take their leader with us." A single Zorath ship, old, heavy, packed with explosives, broke from the line. It pointed straight at the Titan's Wrath. Its engines burned red hot. It accelerated like a spear. On the human flagship, alarms rang softly. A sensor officer said, "Incoming ramship, impact in 90 seconds. Admiral Chen looked at the screen. He did not blink. "Let it come, all hands brace, we finish this." Down on Clithia, Elder Vera watched the battle on a flickering screen. She saw the suicide ship racing forward. She saw the human fleet not moving away. She whispered, "What are they doing? They will be destroyed." Lear shook his head. "No, look closer, they are waiting." The suicide ship grew larger and larger on every screen. Death was coming fast, but the humans did not run. They smiled. And in that moment, every Clithian watching felt the same cold truth sink in. These people did not fear death. They welcomed it. They danced with it. And right now they were very, very angry. The suicide ship was almost there. The real fight was about to begin. The suicide ship grew huge on every screen. Its engines screamed red fire. Packed with enough explosives to tear a moon apart, it flew straight at the Titan's Wrath. No one in the Zorath fleet expected to win anymore. This was their last angry bite. Lord Kraz leaned forward, claws tight. Ram them. End their admiral. End this shame. On the human flagship, the bridge stayed calm. Red warning lights flashed softly. The sensor officer counted down in a steady voice. Impact in 40 seconds. 35. 30. Admiral Chen stood with arms crossed. He looked at the main screen. The suicide ship filled it completely now, ugly, spiked, burning toward them like a falling star. A small voice broke the quiet. Admiral, we can jump away, we still have time. Chen shook his head once. No, we do not run from cowards. He turned to the tactical officer. Launch the Defiant, full speed, intercept course. The Defiant was a small corvette, fast, light, and almost too young to be in this fight. Its captain, a woman named Elena Torres, answered instantly over comms. Defiant moving to intercept. We got this, sir. The tiny ship broke from the fleet line. It flew straight toward the suicide ram, no hesitation, no fear, just a single bright engine flare. Down on Clythia, Elder Vera and her people watched the scene on cracked view screens. Lear pointed. That small ship, it's going to crash into the big one. Vara's voice cracked. They will both die, why? No one answered, they just watched. In space, the two ships closed fast. The suicide ship was massive. The Defiant looked like a toy next to it. At the last second, the corvette turned slightly, not to dodge, but to aim better. Elena Torres spoke one last time, calm and clear. For Earth, for the call, see you on the other side. The Defiant hit the suicide ship head-on, not a glancing blow, a perfect center strike. A white-hot explosion lit the entire battlefield. The blast wave rolled out in a perfect circle. Both ships vanished in fire and light. Pieces of metal spun away like burning leaves. Silence fell over every channel. The Titan's wrath sat untouched, not even a scratch. Admiral Chen exhaled slowly. Status? Defiant is gone, sir. No survivors, but the ram threat is neutralized. Chen nodded once. Record their names, they will not be forgotten. He opened the fleet-wide channel. His voice carried to every human ship and every Clythian receiver too. That was one of ours, a small ship with a big heart. We protect our own and we protect those who call for help, even when they do not know who answers. The words hung in the void. On Clythia, people felt something change inside them. The hope they felt earlier turned heavier. These humans did not just fight. They sacrificed. Willingly, without question. Lord Kraz stared at the fading explosion. His red eyes looked dull now. They threw away their own ship, like it was nothing. One of his officers whispered, They did not throw it away, sir, they spent it like a coin. The Zorath fleet broke completely after that. Ships turned in every direction. Some tried to jump to faster than light. Most did not make it. Human destroyers moved like shadows. They hunted the runners. Railgun rounds found engines. Missiles chased fleeing hulls. One by one, Zorath ships died in bright flashes. A single Zorath heavy cruiser tried to surrender. It lowered its weapons and sent a white signal flare. The human response was short. Too late. A single missile ended it. Elder Vera turned away from the screen. We asked for help, they gave us victory, but at what cost? Lear looked up. They paid it without asking us to share the bill. The sky above Clythia slowly cleared. Fewer Zorath ships remained. The human fleet circled like a storm that had not yet finished. Their guns still glowed. Their engines still hummed. Farah spoke softly to the room. We must speak to them. We must thank them. And we must understand what kind of people answer a blind call with such fire. High above, Admiral Chen looked down at the green planet. He spoke quietly to himself. They called, we came, now they see what humanity really is. The battle was almost over. But the lesson, the real lesson, was only beginning. And neither the Clythians nor the Zorath would ever forget it. The sky above Clythia slowly turned quiet. The bright flashes of battle faded. Burning ship pieces fell like slow dying stars. Most of the Zorath fleet was gone, either broken into scrap or running so fast. They left trails of fire behind them. The few ships that remained floated dead in space, dark and silent. On the bridge of the Bloodfang, Lord Kraz stood alone. His crew had either died or fled to escape pods. The once mighty flagship now tilted badly, leaking air and sparks. Red emergency lights pulsed across the cracked screens. Most of them showed only black. Kraz opened a private channel to his Emperor, his last message before the end. Emperor, we have failed. The Clithians sent a blind distress call. It reached the humans. We thought they were weak. We were wrong. They are not helpers. They are a force of nature. They fight without pause, without mercy. They sacrifice their own people just to protect strangers. We made a mistake calling them anything less than death itself. Do not send more ships. Do not seek revenge. Warn everyone. Never answer a Clithian call. The humans will come. And when they come, regret is all that remains. He ended the message. Then he sat in his chair and stared at the empty space where his fleet used to be. For the first time in his long life, the great Zorath commander felt small. Very small. Down on the planet, the Clithians walked out of shelters into the open air. Smoke still rose from ruined buildings. Fires burned in the distance. But the bombs had stopped. The sky no longer rained death. People looked up. Human ships still circled high above, huge gray shadows against the stars. They did not land. They did not speak. They just watched. Elder Vera stepped onto the cracked balcony of the council tower. Lear followed her. The wind carried the smell of metal and ash. Vara opened a communication channel to the human flagship. Her voice trembled only a little. This is Elder Vera of Clithia. We thank you. You saved us. We called for any help. We never imagined this. A long pause followed. Then Admiral Chen's voice came through. Calm, flat, without warmth. You sent a signal across the galaxy. You asked for aid. We heard it. We answered. That is all. Vara swallowed. We are grateful, but so many lives lost. Your people, our cities. Was it worth it? Another pause. When Chen spoke again, his words were slow and heavy. Worth is not the question. A call for help is not a request, it is a promise. We keep our promises. Even when the cost is high. Even when the ones who called did not know who would answer. Vara looked at the sky. Hundreds of human ships still moved in perfect order. Not one looked damaged. Not one looked afraid. She asked quietly, "What happens now?" Chen's answer was short. We finish cleaning, then we leave. You rebuild, you live, and you remember. The channel closed. Lear turned to Vara. His face was pale. They did not ask for thanks. They did not ask for payment. They just did it. Vara nodded slowly. And that scares me more than the Zorath ever did. Across the planet, stories began to spread. People spoke in low voices about the humans who came from nowhere. They told of fighters who laughed while dodging death. Of a small ship that flew into fire to save the rest. Of an admiral who spoke of promises like they were laws of nature. In one shelter, an old Clithian woman held her grandchild close. Never forget this day, she whispered. We called for help. And help came wearing iron and fire. Next time we call, we better know exactly who is listening. High above, on the Titan's wrath, Admiral Chen watched the green planet slowly spin. Repair teams worked on minor damage, crews cleaned weapons, fighters returned to their bays. Everything was orderly. Everything was quiet. Chen turned to his second-in-command. Prepare to depart, all ships, set course for home, the officer asked softly. Sir, do you think they will call us again? Chen looked out at the stars. If they do, we will answer, that is what we are. The fleet began to move. Engines glowed blue-white. One by one, ships aligned in perfect lines. On Clithia, Elder Vera watched them prepare to leave. She felt no joy, only a deep, strange weight in her chest. They had been saved, but they had also been shown something terrifying. Humanity did not come to help. Humanity came to win, and they always did. The regret was not just the Zoraths anymore. It belonged to the Clithians, too. They had pressed the button, and now the galaxy knew what happened when the wrong person answered. The last Zorath ship vanished in a weak flash of light. It tried to jump away. Human sensors tracked it. A single railgun round followed. The ship never reached its destination. Only silent space remained. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Titan's wrath. He looked at the main view screen. The green planet below turned slowly. Small lights flickered on its night side. Clithian cities trying to come back to life. Repair crews moved across damaged human ships. Fighters landed one by one in neat rows. The fleet was ready to leave. Chen opened the fleet-wide channel. His voice reached every captain, every pilot, every engineer. Mission complete. Casualties recorded. Honors will be given when we return home. You fought well, you fought clean. Now we go back to where we belong. No cheering, no speeches. Just quiet clicks as officers acknowledged the order. He switched to the open channel, the one the Clithians could hear. This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Coalition. Our work here is done. We answered your call. We answered it fully. Stay safe. Rebuild your world. And remember one thing. Do not send blind signals again unless you are ready for who might listen. A short pause. Because we always answer, and we always finish what we start. The channel closed. On the planet, Elder Vera stood on the highest point of the council tower. Wind pulled at her robes. Lear stood beside her. Below them, people gathered in the streets. They looked up. No one spoke loudly. The silence felt heavy, almost holy. Farah opened her own channel one last time. Admiral Chen, thank you for everything. We will not forget. No reply came. Above, the human ships began to move. They formed one perfect circle around the planet. Engines glowed brighter. Blue-white light grew stronger. Space itself seemed to bend. Then, in perfect silence, the entire fleet vanished. One heartbeat they were there, hundreds of steel giants. The next heartbeat, gone. Only faint ripples in the starlight remained, like stones dropped in dark water. The Clithians stared at the empty sky. A child pointed upward. They were here, and now they are not. His father lifted him onto his shoulder. They were never here to stay. They came to do a job, then they left. In the days that followed, Clithia began to heal. People cleared rubble. Scientists studied the pieces of Zorath ships that fell. Engineers rebuilt towers. Children played again. But something had changed forever. Stories spread fast. In every city, around every fire, people told the same tale. They spoke of the blind call, of the mistake, of the fleet that came from nowhere. They described fighters who danced through death, a small ship that flew into fire to save strangers, an admiral who spoke of promises like unbreakable laws. The name human became something new, not just a species, a warning, a legend. Traders carried the story to other worlds. Ambassadors whispered it in quiet rooms. Pirates told it in dark bars. Even the Zorath survivors, those few who escaped, spoke of it in fear. Do not call across the void without knowing who listens, they warned, because if the signal reaches Sol, the fleet will come, and regret will follow faster than light. Years passed. Clithia grew strong again. Crystal cities rose taller than before. New ships flew from their yards. But one rule stayed in every school, every council meeting, every home. Never use the ancient beacon again. Never send a blind cry for help. Because the galaxy is big, and one corner of it holds something worse than enemies. It holds humans. On quiet nights when the 3 moons hung low, Elder Vera sometimes walked alone to the place where the old beacon once stood. The machine was silent now, covered in vines and dust. She touched its cold metal. She did not speak to it, she only remembered. She remembered the day they pressed the button. She remembered the sky full of fire. She remembered the voice that answered, calm, certain, unstoppable. And she remembered the lesson carved into every Clithian heart. Some calls should never be made, because some answers do not forgive mistakes. Far away in the Sol system, the fleet returned home. Ships docked. Crews stepped onto Earth's soil. Families waited. Medals were given in quiet rooms. Names of the fallen were read aloud. Admiral Chen stood at a window and looked at the blue planet below. He thought of Clithia. He thought of the distress signal that reached them by chance. He smiled, just a small one. Another call answered, he said to no one. Then he turned away. The galaxy kept turning. But now it turned knowing one truth. Humanity does not wait to be invited. Humanity does not ask permission. Humanity only needs to hear the word help. And when it does, the fleet always warps in. The end.